Okay, so currently this problem is solved for Q. Solved for means that you have something that's alone on one side of the equal sign. So you see the equal sign, we have a whole bunch of stuff here, but we just have this one letter here, and so it's solved for Q. And the directions here are saying, hey, we need to solve for D. So we need to get D by itself. Now, we're going to have to rearrange this problem, and when you rearrange things, you always do it by doing the opposite of whatever's happening. So if addition is happening, we do subtraction. If multiplication is happening, we do division. You know how those things are opposites of each other, that kind of thing. So that what eventually happens when you take those actions is the things that you have on one side end up on the other side. So like we can expect, since D needs to be alone, that either all this stuff is going to move over here, or the Q is going to move over here, and the other stuff will stay here, and D will move over there. Some way or another, it's going to either say D equals, and then the rest of the stuff, all the other letters will be over here, or it'll say all the letters here and it equals D. Either one of those is quite acceptable. All right, so because D is in the denominator here, D is being used to divide with, and we need to get this stuff off the bottom here. So we're going to, since it's being divided by y minus D, we're going to actually multiply both sides by y minus D. So we're going to have Q times y minus D on the left side. And then on the right side, when we multiply by the y minus D, you know, the typical multiplying by fractions, if you have sets or pieces that you can cross out because they're in common, they're common factors, then we can do that. So something on the top with the bottom. And if they're involved with sets of addition or subtraction, you can't just take a piece of it away. You have to take the whole set away. So in this case, our sets match, and so we can remove them. So then on the right side, what we have left is y minus b. Now, again, our goal is to get D alone, right? So now that we have D up here on the left, we're looking at how can we get rid of the Q and the Y that are with it. Well, the Q is multiplying everything here. So we're going to divide both sides by Q to get rid of the Q. And so now we have y minus D equals W minus B divided by Q. And you can think of that as W over Q minus B over Q if you want to. They mean the same thing. So to get D alone again is our goal, solving for D. Excuse me. And so we want to get rid of the y, and it's being added, it's a positive. So we're going to subtract y from both sides. So now we have a negative D or a minus D, excuse me, equals W minus B over Q. And now we're going to subtract y. And at that point, they really like for us to have common denominators here so we can write the whole thing with a Q underneath it, like because the Q affects both of them or everything. Excuse me. So if we wanted to make this with a Q, we would just consider it like it's over 1 and just put Q with both levels. So we could say, okay, negative D, and then now we have W minus B minus QY, and they all have Q underneath them now. Sometimes they want us to do that, sometimes they don't. You know, either way is fine. But in this case, notice this still has a negative on the D, and so we have to divide by -1. And remember, if you multiply or divide by -1, it just changes the sign. Like 5 times -1 makes it a -5. Or 5 divided by -1 just makes it a -5. Or -4 divided by -1 makes it a +4. So when we divide by -1, it's going to change all these signs. So then our answer would become D equals a negative W, a positive B, a positive QY over Q.